On a dumpster diving session, I found a shop sign made of a mysterious material which completely changed how I see terrain building. Welcome to Cut, Transform Glue. On one of my recent city walks inside a dumpster, I spotted a sign from an ice cream shop, as you can see. And me, being a shameless dumpster diver, thinking this was a nice piece of styrene, I jumped right into it. But only when I got it to my shop and started working with it, I noticed it was actually a weird kind of foam, one that cuts and breaks well. And an idea for a new project was born. But first, I needed to remove all of the sticker layer, which was not an easy task. With the sticker layer removed, the foam was ready, but before I started terrain building, I prepared a nice and solid plexiglass base, with a similar size to a recent project, of course, so they look cool together. On top of the plexiglass base comes one layer of foam, so I can give the ground some texture. Then, using a marker, I did a quick sketch of what I wanted. I wanted two mountains on the sides and this spaceship kinda going through the middle. Just enough so I can base the next layers off of it and of course, for you guys to see it. I measured the maximum size of each layer, the base of the mountains, and began cutting strips, when I noticed I forgot the sticker on one sheet, which was actually helpful. I could just fold it and cut the next strips. And with everything ready, it was time to face the next challenge, stack the layers while giving it an interesting shape. Okay, so how can you make a 3D organic shape using sheet material? That's the biggest question right here, and here's how I did it. I resorted to topography maps. Not that I have any experience with that, but we've all seen this. It's those squiggly lines, where there's a shape inside another, only a bit smaller, showing changes of elevation. And creating that effect is not that hard. You can simply draw the first one and use it as a template for the next one, like I'm doing right here. You just gotta offset the line a little bit. Now, if you feel like you overdid it and maybe added way too much offset and you need a smoother transition, as long as you don't glue the layers together, you can always go back and add an in-between layer, like I'm doing right there. And if you're patient enough and keep repeating those processes over and over, always pausing to analyze what you just did and maybe doing a couple of corrections here and there, you'll end up with a shape that's almost a mountain. And that's because what comes next is really what makes this technique shine. Next, I made the second mountain, aiming for a taller one this time. I also tried something different, which was to create a sort of overhang where the top of the mountain is kinda hanging. That will be clear once I start sculpting the foam, which is when the magic will happen. When I finished the second mountain, or I guess the other side of the canyon, I felt it needed a detail, a small island in the middle, just to make things interesting. And then I finally had everything I needed, every volume, so I could start sculpting. To to sculpt an organic shape on this soft material, I'm gonna need a different tool. This one is a wood carving tool, which is usually used to carve drawings into wood. But first, I gotta sharpen it. I don't really know how to properly sharpen tools. I just try my best. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but today was a lucky day. Let me tell you, sculpting that foam was a blast. The material is firm while still super easy to sculpt and remove shapes from, and it's quickly become one of my favorite things to work with. Unfortunately, I have no idea how to search for it. This is probably not the well-known XPS foam you guys have, but eventually I'll figure it out because it's the best thing for terrain. After making a ton of foam chips, I ended up with a still rough but more refined version of a canyon. Then I softened it up with an abrasive sponge, which made it look much better, and then I primed it, revealing a nice and smooth look. And it was then time to start working on the main star of the show, the spaceship. To build the tiniest ship I've ever built, I went for this bag of random bits and pieces, which I can't seem to properly sort in my organizers as there's just so many of them. I knew I wasn't going to spend a lot of time on this one, so I focused on greeblies that could easily be combined. And eventually I landed on this design, a plane with wings for flying on the Earth and a giant engine for space traveling. Maybe this one could be an inspiration for a bigger build? Let me know in the comments. Now, putting it together took me no more than 10 or 15 minutes, and I wish most of my projects came together this easily. But at the same time, switching between completely different scales can be pretty fun. It then received a coat of primer, and everything was ready for the painting process. I didn't want to break out my airbrush for such a small project, so in this one I'm going with acrylics. To maintain saturation, I've been testing some neon colors. I began by mixing a super bright orange with it, and then I applied it with a brush as a base color for the terrain. And to work fast, I'm using a hairdryer. Then I grabbed a bright gray from another project and removed some of the saturation from the ground. Then I found an ugly dark green paint just waiting to be thrown away and made a dark streak in the middle of the canyon. And I finished it up with a strong orange for the top. Now, painting this spaceship was a pain in the neck. So tiny and delicate, I didn't even film the whole process. After I was done with it, I grabbed a metal rod from my hoarding box number 58 and picked the thinnest one I could find. Drilled a delicate hole on the bottom of the ship and did the same on the base, and this project was complete. The best way to support the channel is to watch the video to the very end, which you just did. If you want to go one step further, hit the like button so more people can hear about it. For financial support and access to an exclusive Discord channel, the link is of course below. And as always, thanks for watching.